It is recording now.
Is it? Okay.
Yep. Thank you for that, guys. Well, anyway, I'd like to introduce you to Paul Banach, and he is an agent with us at Keller Williams. He actually is a listing specialist on Lisa Wasan's team. So, and he's capped quite often, I think, in your real estate career. So why don't we back up a second, and Paul, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how many years you've been in the business and things like that?
Absolutely. Well, pleasure being here. Thanks everyone for coming. So I've been in the business for about 5 years now, going to be 5 years this November. I married kind of into the business almost because I married Lisa's daughter. So Lisa is my mother-in-law. I have 2 boys, 7 and a 3-year-old. So keep us nice and busy. I'm a big into sports. So, you know, whenever we get back to the office, if you hear me talking about a game or something, it's pretty common. So I got my license November 2015. And right when I got it, I started kind of, you know, diving into the classes that they have at Brighton, kind of learning that way. And I think I closed my first deal in April 2016.
Okay.
And then since then, pretty much, you know, been all positive. So
very nice, very nice. So how long have you been doing this?
4 years, going to be 5 years this November.
Okay. And how many times have you capped?
I've actually been fortunate enough. I've capped every year I've been in the business. My first year was extreme, you know, a lot slower, as you could imagine. And I capped like the very end of October.
Okay.
Just capped my first year, and then ever since then, pretty consistently capping, you know, like late spring, maybe early summer.
Okay. So what is the quickest that you've capped?
I want to say early April.
April.
It would be like not quite 5 months for my cap date. So I had about seven plus months of, you know, all commission coming to me. So
very nice. Very nice. So guys, I just want to remind you, if you've got questions or anything like that for Paul, you can go ahead and put them in the chat box, and we'll get to them kind of as we progress through our interview this morning. So feel free to ask questions. So I guess, Paul, give me a little bit of, give me an idea. What do you feel you do that sets you apart from perhaps others, or what do you think is most important in helping you to cap?
I really think we're in a people business where you have to deal with all sorts of personalities. People with good attitudes, bad attitudes, you know, everything in between, really. Hyperactive people kind of like me. So I feel my ability to adjust. I don't really know if it sets me apart, because anyone who's good at this business or has success can do this to an extent. But I feel like adjusting to personalities and kind of being judicious with, you know, if someone's type A personality needs every detail versus someone who's much more relaxed, I feel like I can kind of match them and provide what they feel comfortable with. Okay. So I feel like that's probably one of my biggest strengths, is just kind of reading the room and being able to adjust based on what our client needs, really, personality-wise.
Okay. So you think that that's something that really kind of sets you apart, or I guess defines your business?
My personality, you know, a lot of people in this business, or at least in the past, you know, very kind of like a shark kind of business, very salesy. Nowadays, it's much more consultative. So I also think that I'm I'm big on consultative selling, and really, you know, not trying to tell someone something that it's not, or going into a house and having no problem pointing out things for, you know, my buyer client that, hey, I don't like that. I don't like that at all, you know? So I feel that's one of my big strengths. And again, I don't know if it sets me apart, because anyone successful does that, but that's really one of my strengths, I feel.
Okay. So what do you do, or what do you feel how do I put this? What do you, so basically what you're saying is one of your strengths is being able to kind of read the room and kind of meet people kind of where they are in the process. I know that you're a listing specialist. Do you prefer working with sellers or buyers or?
I do prefer working with sellers. I would say I started off, just working with buyers right away.
Mhm.
Getting someone to trust you to sell their home is a task in itself, especially if you're new or like a younger face. And that's kind of, you might not think about that, but I have experienced people being straight up like, how long have you been doing this for? Just because maybe I look younger or whatnot. So I definitely prefer to work with sellers, but buyers are definitely always going to be there. You're always going to have close people, referrals, people that you just want to help buy. And
Right.
though on the whole, the listing side is really, really what I like to dig into for sure.
So that's interesting. You touched upon something. So can I ask how old you are?
Yeah, 32.
Okay. Okay. So that means, so if you've been doing this for what, 5 years?
Yep.
So
Uh,
you,
4.5. So I got in when I was 28.
okay. So do you really feel like age was a difficult thing for you? Do you feel that people looked at you like maybe you didn't take this, seriously, or you're just a young kid and what do you know? Or how might you go about overcoming that?
I feel like I do feel I have seen that a little bit, but there's a lot of young people in the business now. I really feel that confidence and knowing, how to speak to people, kind of like everyday life when you're meeting someone new, where you're shaking their hand firmly, looking them in the eye. I feel like confidence is a big help with that. I think I have lost some listings because people went with more veteran agents, or maybe they were expecting to meet with Lisa, and I was the one that was actually going through it, which has been no problem really. But yeah, I've lost a couple listings and had a couple people kind of look at me funny. That may have been earlier in my career. Maybe I wasn't as confident. Um, I don't think I lack confidence, but in any type of business, especially when you're getting in new and there's all these things going around a different industry, you really, you need to know what you're talking about
Right.
and make
Right.
them feel comfortable. So nowadays, the more and more I've been in the business, every year I'm seeing younger and younger people get in, which is great. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Keller Williams definitely is a great place for that because of all of our technology and
Yeah.
everything else. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I would 100% agree with that. Yes.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So we are starting to get some stuff on the chat line. Mary, do you want to handle those?
Sure, absolutely. Paul, let's see. How did you get your first client and what did you do prior to KW?
So start with what I did prior to KW. I went to college for phys ed. So the plan was to be a gym teacher, be around sports all day, kind of, do that whole thing, maybe teach health. That was around 2010. And at that time, getting a job in New York was just crazy. Like as a teacher, it still is hard, but as a phys ed teacher, especially, forget about it. I would have to relocate, move out of state. And I did go to college out of state in Springfield in Massachusetts. So I was kind of already used to that. But I came home after college and got a sales job, just selling like digital marketing, probably like half of us have done before. And I was making decent money. And I was like, you know what? It's hard to get a teaching job. I'm pretty good at the sales. So I bounced around to a few different sales companies. But my most recent, before Keller Williams, I was selling like to businesses, wireless services. You have clients and, you provide them with whatever you need as you pick up more. I think my most memorable transaction in that was I helped Super Bowl 50. I helped them set up like 100 iPads or something like that for the Super Bowl for a technology company. So that was real cool. And what was the second part of that question? How did I get into it?
How did you get your first client when you started?
Yeah. Well, we were buying a lot of leads. We still do buy some leads, but we were buying a lot of leads in 2015 when I started. So it took me a couple months. November I started 2015. I think by the end of January, I had a couple clients, mostly just from turning leads on people clicking on listings. I've also been very fortunate that, I work with Lisa, so she has been in the business for a long time. And once she felt like she was comfortable enough handing someone off to me, she would do that. So my first lead was just a Zillow lead, straight up. Also, I had a friend's parent that trusted me to sell their home early on too, so that was a blessing. But yeah, that's pretty much how I broke in right there.
And then how about now? Like, how would you say are your top 3 kind of ways that you get business now?
Yes. The first one would be sphere, just people just, from growing up with, maybe a family member. So right now, I think most of my business comes from my sphere, Lisa's sphere, people that she's done business with before, and then we still buy some leads. So I would say those lead generation tools that we use.
Okay.
What
about as far as being on a team, the benefit of being on a team, even if you're splitting commission with the Rainmaker?
Yeah. I was going to say, you want to talk about the benefits and the negatives of it? No, I'm joking. Benefits of being on a team is you have support. Support gives you confidence as well. You have usually the way your team is structured, you'll have more resources available for you. You're not spending more resources available that you're not spending all of your money on, I could say. A lot of time your team lead will be paying for a lot of those marketing programs. So that is nice. The splitting commissions though you gotta get used to that. Not that, it's not what it is, but you really got to look at your numbers and know what you're doing. For a while, and we still split commissions, but for a while, I need to get more organized when I was younger in the business. So I wouldn't really, I'd look at my numbers, but I'd be like, oh, whatever. And then, I'd end up making decent money, but maybe I wanted to make more. So you need to really, when you're on a team and you're working with a split, you really need to get your numbers out in front of you for the year, know what you need to hit, what you want to hit transaction-wise, because the reality is half or 40% or 30% of that will be going to the Rainmaker for the team. So, but I think the support and having people to back you up, I've had, some of my agents on my team rush out to show one of my clients a home when I couldn't do it. And then they turn around and that person, writes an offer. It's like, oh my gosh. A lot of times we pay our colleagues, to do a showing for us or handle an inspection. On a team, you can also do that, and especially if it becomes more common, but it's very much like, hey, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So I think the support and having that camaraderie, which face it in real estate, you're alone a lot of the time as well. You're kind of working by yourself. So that'll helps you push yourself really and kind of stay accountable, I think. Kim would know that.
So there's another question on here too. What are the top 3 ways you generate business?
So I would say I have more recently over the years gotten a good amount of business from social media. Not so much, strangers, definitely, random people, but people that were like acquaintances or peers that I knew, they knew me, but we weren't friends, didn't really run in the same circle, but they see you posting more, they see you knowing what you're talking about. And if you're adding value as well as maybe a little bit of humor or light-sidedness on that, that helps a lot, goes a long way. I've had people reach out to me from high school that I barely ever talked to, or we just didn't really know, and they're wanting me to sell their mom's home, something like that. So I think social media is huge. The other ways, really staying in touch with people and being a good communicator. This part, it's not an easy business, and you need to. It's hard, especially for me. I'm not I haven't always been the most direct person, which I've gotten a lot better at that. And people don't always want to hear what you have to say, or they don't always want to hear that this house might not be overpriced. But you need to be able to have that in you, because once you can gain their respect by providing them info that hurts a little bit maybe, but is going to help them in the long run, they absolutely will come back to you, and you'll get repeat business. So really staying in touch with your clients, even your first time clients, and communicating with them, you'll get repeat business, whether through them or through their family member. My mother-in-law has 3 or 4, maybe I'd say 2 or 3 like generations of family members getting her business. The grandma, the mother, and now the daughter wants to buy a home. Or the son.
Speaking of that, do you guys have a systematic way of keeping track of or keeping in touch with people, or is it just kind of you just try and touch them?
No, we do have. I mean, it is a little bit of both. Sometimes you're just spontaneously going to reach out to someone because of an event, or you ran into them or whatnot. But we do have a way to go about doing that. We try to, you get everyone in your database, obviously, and you try to get as much information as possible on them. And that's something I've really been working on lately, is making sure my database not only has their contact info, but it's very rich with other information about them and about their family and about their pets and their birthday, the whole 9.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel you need to then, we do have campaigns that we work on where you will, and I think people have heard of this before, but you'll pick maybe a couple like the beginning of their last name, like A, B, C. And you just go down your sphere, and that week you're touching everyone that has a last name that starts with A, B, or C. So that's one of the big ways we do it. I'm fortunate we have an office manager or marketing assistant that helps kind of organize that a little bit and keep us on task. But that's really the biggest way, is just going down your list and just them. And so it's a little bit of both, but I think the last name is really
okay. The do the 2, right? Where you kind of go through. We have a couple social media questions. One was Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Which one is best, or do you use a combination?
So we'll start with Twitter. Twitter is actually one of my favorite social media feeds, but I don't know if it's fantastic for real estate. It's very good for news. It's very good to get news out there, and you can hear a lot and see a lot, and that's really where I get a lot of my news from. People might laugh and say, well, you're getting your news from the internet, but it's how it is these days. It's not like you're listening to random people. You have everyone on there now. So I love Twitter for that, for news. I don't think it's the best place, and it's good for engagement. I don't think it's the best place to get first-time home buyers looking at your listings. So I do like Twitter for that aspect, though, for engagement and for news. Facebook is still king, I would say, in regards to getting information out there, getting your listings out there, getting random people messaging you, being like, oh, I like this home, or I might have a home similar to sell. So Facebook is still, I think, the number 1 for that, where you're just, you're out in the open. And the nice thing about Facebook is you have everyone's on it except for maybe now the younger kids.
Yeah. Speaking of Facebook, do you have a feeling about a business page versus a personal page?
Yes. So I've seen both. I have a business page, and I've seen people who will comment, and even very, very successful people will comment. I don't really share much on my personal page, my business page. I don't like to do a lot of real estate on my personal page. And I don't buy into that at all. I do think you need to be very pointed with what you post and your strategy. You don't want to oversaturate people with this nonsense. But if you're a real estate agent, you're really in this, that's your life. And so my personal page, I use both. I will always make sure to get a new listing or the absolute information you need about my listing on my professional page. Because if someone, not to mention it's good to have a resource for someone to look at, but if you have a stranger thinking about doing business with you and they go search you on Facebook and they find a professional page, it's very clean and organized and has a lot of the information about your listings, I think that's very beneficial. And I've heard, people like that. But at the same time, I love to share almost everything to my personal page. You add a little bit of a different vibe to your personal page slightly, based on your personality. But I definitely think I use both, but I would make sure my professional and my new listings, my big information goes on the professional page, and then just share it to your personal page and get it out to your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you do campaigns on Facebook or paid ads?
Yes. So we've just started to mess around with we've been messing around with them, but we just started to launch our command Facebook ads through the KW command. There's a lot of benefits to that, like lead capture is so much more in depth on that. But traditionally, what we've done, what I've done since I got into the business is just your normal sponsored ad on Facebook. I do think it absolutely is something you should be doing. David Brown, I'm not sure if you guys know David Brown from the Brighton office. A couple of years ago, he just started, he was doing open houses for himself, but also for other people. And he started that's kind of where I learned this, like, wow, I got to do this more. He started sponsoring like every open house post, like paying a little bit of money for every legitimate post. And he was getting a ton of business from it. So I started like, okay, you need to do this. So I firmly believe in sponsored ads, and it's all, it depends on your budget. You can definitely do cheap ones and get plenty of exposure that way. So I think I do like that. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Like command is kind of a game.
How do you target, and then what's the budget you guys try to keep to for the Facebook ads?
Yep. So we don't usually want a Facebook ad running more than a week. So usually about, again, it all depends, but about 4 to 5 days is kind of the sweet spot, I think. Budget-wise, we're not, throwing a ton of money out there. So $2 or $3 a day is usually kind of the budget, roughly. Again, it's going to depend on every team. I'm sure some teams spend a lot more on that. But we found success with that. And what was the second part of that question?
Targeting. Do you guys, how do you choose to target?
So, without showing you on the screen, there's a place in the ads where you can go and pick your area, geographically speaking. And I think I target that a lot more. Nowadays with command, you can target like first-time home buyers, things of that nature, a little more direct and specific. But what I've done traditionally is targeting that area you're selling in, and then kind of pushing it out to different radiuses. Like I'll be selling a house in Leroy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put Leroy on there, but I'll put Batavia on there too. I might go to Brockport as well. Definitely go to Rochester. There's always people in Rochester. And you need to know your areas as well. Some places you're not going to have as many buyers coming from. Some cities, some locations. So I definitely I think geographically is really important to get your radius out there. At the same time, you don't want to be marketing out in Clifton Springs to a home in Leroy as much. You still might, but you want to be targeted with those areas and like 20, 30 miles surrounding it.
Yeah. And what do you do with those leads? Do you have a system of putting them into a campaign where all of a sudden they get a call, a text, an email, and then they're on a drip campaign? Or because a lot of times people collect leads and then they never do anything with them. You're like, I got the lead.
Happens too often, to be honest. So we have right now, and we're, again, with command, we're doing a lot with command and with the campaigns in command. But for my first 3.5, 4 years, and even to this day, we still have a program called Follow Up Boss. And that is a large database that allows you to store all of your information, all your contact wise, and new lead wise, sort the information by buyer, seller, there's a lot of other custom fields you can fill out. And then right now we just pulled it off because of the pandemic and the no cold calling until September.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do is if a lead comes in from realtor.com or Zillow.com, it'll send them an automatic text message. It says like, hey, what's the best time to call you? This is Paul. Now I'll try to call them or contact them as soon as possible after that.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have it set up where you can automatically shoot them a message. And so we use Follow Up Boss. There are other methods to use. And I think command is really, I mean, we're just kind of waiting for the day we can just get rid of follow-up boss and do all the same with command and more. But that is, yes, we do have that, because if anyone has ever paid for leads, you know, if you get a Zillow lead, you call it, you might be like the 5th person that called them if you wait 5 minutes.
Right.
That might not be the case in some areas, but you really need to be on top of it. So, but in terms of the information or a lead you get from Facebook, you actually have to manually put that in. Put that in, and then from there you can automate things a lot better.
Right, absolutely. Okay, a little deviation from Facebook. How about the time blocking? Are you a fan of time blocking? If you do, what's your process?
I hope Lisa's not on this call. No.
She might be.
I'm a big fan of time blocking. I am admittedly not the best at it. I feel like, you know, I can always improve, but huge fan of time blocking. Huge fan of the book, The Miracle Morning, just because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm big into sports, and sometimes just getting going in the day, you need a little workout or you need something like that. So yes, time blocking is huge. I am working on organization all the time, always. But yeah, I think that's essential, and you can do a ton of business just by simply structuring your day, and all these little things you're doing, like, oh, I'm going to reach out to my, you know, talk to my A, B, and C people today. Tomorrow will be, you know, DEF, whatever it is, or next week. Those little things will add up, though. And so time blocking might seem very mundane, but it can help you take your business to another level for sure.
Absolutely. Do you do any kind of farming, geographic farming? If so, have you found success with it?
I have not done a lot of geographic farming to strain. Well, I should say this. When we have open houses or something in an area, my version of farming would be walking around the neighborhood, knocking on doors, handing out flyers to the open house when we can do that. So that's kind of what we've done for farming. I haven't done a lot of, let me send out 100 postcards to this area. Now, that I've seen people do that, and even that my sellers receive information from people like hours away, which is like kind of, it's kind of crazy. I feel like that might be, I'm not going to say a waste of time, but I feel like I could spend my time better than sending cards to people like 2 hours away.
Right.
In terms of the local area where you're at, where you live, that's huge, yes. And I haven't done a ton, but door knockers, postcards, it's kind of what we've dabbled in, talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But it is important to get your area where you live, get everyone knowing what you do. So that's kind of my version of the farming we've done.
Okay. What's the plan? How do you see yourself in 3, 5, 10 years? Have you guys, you're taking over the Wasan Empire?
Yep, that's the plan. So certainly it was supposed to actually happen. Well, we would have liked to have it happen by January 2021, basically me running the team entirely. Right now I do work for Lisa's team. I do handle all of our listings with, the understanding that she's kind of like, on top, checking everything out. But I handle all of that today. So the plan is absolutely to have my own team. The tricky part is, having your own team, I'm not going to be the Lisa Wasan team at that point, but I don't want to just pull her name and lose all that clout and that huge sphere you have with someone who's been in the business for 25 years. So the plan is in even less than 3 years, I'll be running the team. Right now we have 2 buyer's agents, our marketing manager and Lisa and me. So I plan on definitely expanding that. I'd like to have, at least 5 active capping agents on the team by then. So we've been in the transition for a while now, actually, but the tricky part is the branding and the naming and all that. And I don't want to take a step backwards, but sometimes you may have to do that a little bit to go forward. But definitely have my own team be operating at a high level and running it that way.
Okay. Any way that you foresee having to change the way you're doing business since COVID or in the future?
Yeah, just, harping on what everyone else has been talking about in all these meetings. We're changing we have a listing presentation that we provide to our sellers prior to listing, or when we're going and interviewing for a job, we have a presentation we give them, but we also have actual, a packet or a digital PDF we provide them. And we're adding virtual in there into everything, and not everyone, like the Matterport cameras, the 3D views, those are very cool. I've looked at those for a couple of years, but they're very expensive, and people were doing them, but it wasn't as popular as it's becoming now, obviously.
Mhm.
I definitely think that's going to be huge going forward, whether you are hiring someone to do it. You do need to be mindful, though there are, people in the industry or in the business, your clients that aren't, your seller might not be comfortable with someone who have a 3D layout of her home.
Right.
So, there's always going to be the traditional way of doing business.
Mhm.
But yes, we are adding virtual into everything. And I don't see any way especially with how people are still selling homes right now, I don't see any way it's not going away. So
Right.
we're absolutely doing that. I think for me, this time period has really, been important to make sure I'm getting very personable with my database again. Not that I wasn't before, but when you're in the middle of the spring season or the summer and you're flying, you're handling, you got 10 deals pending, you got 20 clients on either side, just like need all these things, you tend to just, run through it and get, put your head down and go. This has allowed me an opportunity to really slow down a little bit. Well, slow down a little bit in the sense that, being more reflective, being a little bit more personable. And that's not the same for everyone. Some people are great at that. I just, I like to, when I get into things, I just get going on them. So I do think going forward, along with the virtual, along with making sure you're really talking to your neighbors and your people in your area, really making sure that your people know you're there for them, which you should be doing at all times, but it's really pounded that home for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got a lot of newer agents on here. Actually, it's kind of a nice mix. There's some seasoned agents as well, but we've got a lot of brand new ones that are just getting going in their business. They're doing Ignite. They're in the launch program. What are some of the what is maybe the one thing or best piece of advice you could give these people getting started?
Absolutely. I don't know if there's one thing, but
Okay, many.
what jumps out to me immediately is just being confident. That doesn't mean going and providing false information just because you want to be right or you want to sound like you're right, but really being confident. And that's going to come from taking the free classes we offer, just reading up on real estate, following what, I've gotten a lot of good ideas from people in other markets that are not even comparable to ours. But hey, that's a great idea. So I think being confident and really just doing your research and taking these free classes, or even like the Bold, the $100 Bold. I wasn't really going to do Bold again this year. I was just kind of like, that's fine. But then I found it was $100, and all these, you get all this access. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so worth it. So definitely invest in yourself. Take the time to read. Take the time to research. You got to be confident, but don't be overconfident that you think you can't learn. I'm learning new things every single day. And so it would really be just spend the time working on yourself, because people will notice that, your clients will notice that, and then all of a sudden you'll be capping, halfway through the year every year, and
Yeah.
that'll be that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice. So anybody have any other questions? Come on, people. I know you want to know.
I did want to mention something real quick. I didn't touch on Instagram. Instagram's important as well for social media, because you just got to put your nice pictures up there. Instagram's a very full of vanity. Everyone's making sure their filters are right and their selfies look good. But if you're on there and you've got really clean pictures or videos that are helpful, I think that's a really good place as well. So I just want to touch on that because I didn't mention before.
Okay. Do you think that's just as important as Facebook?
Right now, I would say no. If I had to choose one right now for lead generation, for capturing new clients, for exposure, I would say Facebook's more important.
Yeah.
Because I just think I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think there's more people on it, and let's face it, a lot of people selling homes or homeowners, we have a lot of younger people getting into that, but the numbers don't lie. The older generations own homes at a higher percentage, and on Facebook, I would say. So I think Facebook's the most vital, but you don't want to downplay Instagram because people love to look at good, nice photos like that too. So.
I have another question here that just came in. Marketing person. What does your guys' team's marketing person do? And how many hours a week do they spend?
So our marketing person right now, she does a little bit of everything. She kind of, I don't know if you know, but Kim on our call right now used to be, used to run the show on the back end for our team for years up until just recently. So right now I call Christina our marketing person because I don't want to like call her an office manager. I don't know. I just want to be fair to her. But basically, she organizes our ads, our Facebook ads. She also handles a lot of the, just the listing process and the paperwork. But hours a week, she puts in about a full week. I mean, she started part-time. And if you're having someone just do marketing, solely focus on maybe organizing your leads and getting ads out there and making your new listing posts, you could do that very effectively, I feel, maybe 20, 25 hours a week, no problem. Ours has our manager has a little bit more on her plate right now, but so she works full time. But you can totally get away with a marketing manager, 20 hours a week, maybe even less, depending on how good they are, depending on how busy you are. So it doesn't need to be full time, but ours is simply because of just the nature of our team.
Awesome. Anybody else? Any other questions out there?
So who on here is taking bold? I saw a few people. Nice. And kudos to you, Paul. You just took it in the fall, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I did, and it was good. And I was, like I said, when I saw the deal for this new one, I was like, okay, I have to. $800. I mean, you're spending $800, and you're driving there every day, and that's fine because in person you're getting a lot of that energy, and a lot of that information is easy to retain. But once I saw what they have going on for the new bold, I was like, I have to do it. So
right, I'm taking bold.
Oh yeah,
I'm a newbie.
Is it really? Oh my gosh!
I know.
They're gonna be correcting you all the time, being like, you can't say
Right.
But I've said a but on this call a bunch, but
I'll try. It's I'll do.
What is it? They also make you. I am Kim and I am bold, so you're gonna get to that, or you hear a lot of corrections. But
although I heard it's different, it's not 100% the same old bold.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's gonna be much different.
Yeah,
this time online. So
yeah. So real quick, just shifting gears just slightly. Fallon asked me to remind everybody of our challenge that is starting tomorrow. It is the Corona Challenge. You need to download the Wodify Rise app and get yourself signed up. There will be prizes, I believe. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong. It's $300 for first place, $200 for second, and $100 for third. So there's going to be all types of things you can do to gain points, not only for your business, but for your mental health, physical health, things like that. So looking forward to that.
It's for Brighton, Kim.
Oh, okay, for Brighton agents, sorry. Anybody have anything else for Paul? Paul, is there anything else that you would like to mention or touch upon?
Just to think right now, it's to get your own mental health in check too. Make sure your mind and everything is in an okay place. Yesterday's leadership call, we were talking with Hudson, I think from Florida. Yeah. And I got a real kick out of what he was saying. I thought it was very good. So, you want to be working now. It's tough because we're not doing a lot of showings. you got to be staying busy, but at the same time, definitely take care of your own, your own health, your own mental health. It's very tolling, even if you don't realize it.
Yeah.
It really is a tough time. So just make sure you're doing that, and then whatever you do, just be confident. That's it. Whatever you do in this business, be confident with it, and you're taking care of your head, and things will fall into place.
Right.
Awesome.
I guess the thought process of you already know more than they do, right? You have your
Yeah, that's it. And it's not gonna, no, that's the thing. Like, you're the expert, right? You can still be wrong and right now, but you run into someone occasionally that really knows their P's and Q's, and you got to be on your game, and you always do. But yeah, you are the professional. You are the professional. So if you don't know, be honest with them as well. Be like, hey, I don't know the exact answer to that right now, but I will find that out for you for sure. I feel like just trying to BS through things is not the best way to go, even if you don't know the answer. So you're the professional. Be honest with them. And if you don't, if you don't know, tell them, hey, I'll find that out for you.
Right. Well, you're getting a lot of thanks from everybody on this call. People found that you provided them with a lot of great insights. Be confident, great takeaways, and they're really appreciative of you agreeing to join us on the call. I think it's awesome.
People showed up. I was worried I would be the only one on here. So.
You'll always have Kim and I.
Kim,
Yeah, you'll always have the two of us. I'm just kidding.
Hey, Kim, can I say something quick?
Sure, absolutely.
So, I'm very proud of Paul. When I first started business 26 years ago, guys, I thought my daughters would take my business over. And neither one of them were interested because I made them work for me part-time, and they saw how crazy it was. But my son-in-law jumped on it. And I have to tell you, it's amazing having built something. So a lot of you are newly licensed, but think of it, it is a business. This is not sales. And when you grow it like a business, you have something to sell later or give to somebody else to grow even better. Yep. So Paul's going to take this to way higher than I ever developed it, but it gave me the opportunity to actually be your leader in the office. I couldn't have done that without growing something that I can have somebody else take over. So think of even your solo agent, you better think about that, because your database is worth money. And as you build it and build it and build it and feed it, and you make it worth something, even if you don't have somebody to pass that on to, somebody is going to buy it from you, or they're going to give you residual income for a period of time. So always think in that mindset. You are not a salesperson. You are a business owner. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'm very proud of Paul. He says he likes time blocking. I don't know about that one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can see the benefits of it, but it's better. So.
You did a great job, Paul.
Thank you.
You
Thanks,
did.
guys.
Thank you so very much for agreeing to come on. I know it's tough, talking in front of an audience of people and having people pummel you with questions. And,
all right.
I really appreciate you taking the time. It was awesome.
I appreciate you having me. Quite the task to follow up Mark Seawick, but
You did awesome.
Nope, you did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All righty. You all have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.